Hey guys, how's it going? Michael Troy here. Today we are looking at a very rare gem, New Age Comics #1 from 1985. Very cool book. I feel in a lot of ways this is like a direct predecessor to Image Comics. We'll get into that in a minute. Please subscribe to my channel if you have not already. Hit that like button and let's get right into it. So what is New Age Comics? Well, physically, it's this like 35-cent little pamphlet comic, like all newsprint, no slick cover. I feel like I got this from Page After Page Comics in Vegas when I was young. Lived there briefly. I must have got it for the art or the cheap 35-cent cover price, or just like the sheer love of like just like being new to comic book stores, and just, I don't know, I was just always drawn to things because of the art. I didn't know anything about independent comic books at the time, but they were definitely gaining speed and momentum, you know, especially due to comic book shops. So check out this cool jam cover. So basically, this is a bunch of independent comic book publishers, creators, cartoonists of this era coming together to sort of promote their own independent projects and almost sort of make a club. Like it in a lot of ways, it's like Image Comics. Like they're helping support and promote each other's stuff, but, you know, completely producing their books independently of each other. You've got the Hernandez brothers, you've got Don Simpson, you've got Will Eisner, you've got Hal Foster, and two other people. I'm not sure. We'll get into that. Anyway, so I feel, if you will indulge me, let me read this introduction from Will Eisner. I feel it explains it better. I'm not a huge Will Eisner fan. I mean, I have mad respect and think his art is great. He's questionably racist. Because of one of his characters, and then like some other things. Whatever, I don't know, that's neither here nor there as far as you know, his legendary status. I mean, you know, I mean, the spirit, whatever, he did a lot for comic books. I feel like people who know him and just sort of are familiar with his stuff like highly revere him. I was never like exposed to the spirit or much of his work, so I mean, I don't doubt, you know, he's a comic genius, whatever, and deserves his spot, but I don't have like the, you know, like the hero worship like Frank Miller has or whatever. You know, he's no John Byrne, guys. Anyway, it's good to know that at last the alternative comic book publishers are banding together in a loose coalition to market their products. This coalition, New Age Comics, will more quickly provide dependable information about current new titles and interesting projects coming from these independent publishers. The pages each publisher is responsible for will carry informal talks with artists and writers, behind-the-scene views, and information not readily available elsewhere. This comic will tell you, the reader, about the diverse choices available in the alternative comics field. This is important to you because this is where new talent and new comics come from. These young, aggressive publishers are producing the comics of tomorrow. The members of the group publishing New Age Comics are Blackthorn Publishing, Comics Interview, Continuity, Fantagraphics Books, Fragments, West, Kitchen Sink Press, Last Gas, Manuscript Press, Matrix, Mirage, New Sirius, Renegade, Steel Dragon, Vortex, and Warp. Wendy and Richard Pini, ElfQuest. I mean, a lot of these are recognizable and some still exist. The alternative comics field is where new talents can try new ideas and develop the comics of the future. This is critical because new talent must have a place to go when it is frustrated by the dinosaur mentality that is threatening the comics industry today. The superhero formula evolved in comic books over the last 50 years, and this served to entertain readers and sell books. In the general course of things, that formula became entrenched and will, with few exceptions, remains with us today as a dominant theme. We're at the point where the superhero formula threatens to choke and stunt the creative growth of the field. Through sheer force of numbers, readers will be faced with an unhealthy problem Because unless there are publishers who provide an opportunity for daring new talent, superheroes will continue to spawn other superheroes, feeding on a single theme, always being copied and cloned. There must be choices and alternatives. One of the significant characteristics for the growth of new and dynamic stories is the presence and availability of an alternative. This alone would be sufficient justification for publishers who are not in the direct mainstream of what the big two publish. Because of this, they can offer the reader fresh outlooks and new perimeters of comic art. It is important, and it is the comics fan interest to support the small independent publishers because the alternative press is an ever-changing scene. It is a tangible entity and an important both to artists and readers. There are hundreds of young artists trying to establish themselves alongside the older artists burdened with accepted ideas who are in search of outlets and continuous creative growth. For them, alternative publishers supply a nurturing and energetic environment. The loam for the new artists to grow. The reader is rewarded with entertainment value, the entertainment of discovering and participating in something fresh and different for the imagination to ponder, and a distinct choice. For me, New Age comics means that independent publishers have at last decided to begin a coherent and unified approach to marketing new efforts. It is an important and exciting development. You, the reader, are present at a new beginning, maybe even a revolution. This is genius. I will tell you that. This is so great. And I feel like maybe it was such a great idea, but sort of didn't have enough follow through. I don't know exactly what happened. And anyone watching this who had any involvement with this, feel free to chime in on the comments. I mean, it is such a great thing. Like I said, it reminds me of like a predecessor to Image Comics, which an interesting, like there's so many like nuggets to take out of this. I mean, let's face it, this is 1985 and you know, that's a long time ago, almost 40 years ago now. And they're talking about superheroes oversaturating the market and needing alternative forms of comics and stuff. And it's weird, the evolution, because, you know, superheroes do still dominate the comic book market, especially through DC and Marvel. Even though, you know, we've had things like Vertigo and, you know, Epic Comics and different things to sort of give a different, you know, not, you know, superhero comic books. But, and I feel like, especially because of superhero movies, I mean, people are kind of say they're sick of superhero movies. I think they're still viable. I think there's still great ways to do superhero movies. You know, even though it was a TV series, I feel like Peacemaker was a great example of still being able to do entertaining, fresh superhero material. I mean, there's tons of stuff out there. You know, and I haven't seen the new Batman yet, so I'm not going to knock it. I do imagine it's probably great. But it's like we keep redoing Batman over and over and over again, which is fine. But there's lots of great, like, original Batman stories to mine from. And I think they did do some of that with the new movie. So once again, I will save my criticism for another time. Anyway, this is just so cool. I mean, there's so many, like indie people all over this, like Vortex Comics, I think Dean Motter's Mr. X, like just, you know, legends here, ElfQuest, Wendy and Richard Pini, A Distant Soil, Colleen Duran. I mean, you know, some of these I recognize, some I don't. Myth Adventures, interesting, Tim Sale is credited there. Steve Canyon, Milton CANIFF, a great little feature with Don Simpson here, talking about his Megaton Man. I love Don Simpson's art. This probably was my first exposure to his work, and I definitely, like, that stood out. That image of Megaton Man stood out to me on the cover. Probably because I associated it with Cyclops, as I was a big X-Men fan. But I love it. I don't think I've ever read, like, the original Megaton Mans, and I would love to. Like, it sounds like a great superhero parody along the lines of, like, Rick Vetch's Brat Pack, or, you know, something like that. Deconstructed cynist kind of parody, satire, examination, but such beautiful art he always does. Anyway, like A Contract with God, is that the one that's credited as like one of the first graphic novels? But I say they nay. How could that possibly be? I found it interesting in Milton CANIFF Steve Canyon number 11. So is he still publishing like a Steve Canyon comic at this time? Like, I don't know anything about it. Sorry, guys. Comics Interview, what a great magazine that was. I missed like great interviews with like comic book creators. You know, I kind of miss Wizard magazine for that. You know, definitely YouTube interviews sort of make up for that in a lot of ways. But I miss it, guys. I'm nostalgic for it. But anyway, I feel like this is the only issue of this, you know, and this is so great. I mean, this is a fanzine, but, you know, I would imagine this was, like, super hard to put together, and certainly it would have been hard to maintain on any type of regular basis, because it's, like, it's really hard to publish your own comic book independently, especially if you're probably doing more than one job, if not all the jobs, and then having to contribute, like, fresh material and interviews to this, you know, fanzine at the same time, sort of promo piece. Drew Friedman, such a great artist. Peter Baggy, my brother was super into his stuff. I definitely remember having that book. What a great cartoonist. So this is, I mean, I feel like this book is super rare, and I'm so glad it's like in such great condition still. I mean, of course, there's a little wear. It's not mint. The spine is a little, you know, whatever. And we didn't talk enough about this cover. I mean, what a great jam piece. I wonder who owns the original, how this was done. I mean, you know, in this day and age, you would just send a scan and have the artist, like, add on to it. Even though, you know, I mean, wow. It's just kind of cool. Like, all these great artists and these iconic characters, the Spirit, Prince Valiant, along with, you know, I think that's Hopi, and like, well, that character and that character, but then you have Megaton Man. I mean, this is definitely feels like a moment in history. I couldn't even find a copy of this on eBay, and I think I saw one on Amazon for like $50, if not more. I don't know. So definitely rare. This has to be rare AF, and I'm so happy I still have it. And it is so cool. And it, like I said, it's kind of like a time capsule. Like, it's very interesting to see Will Eisner's thought. I've been watching like a couple of things about George Orwell's 1984, like what came true from it and stuff. And it's just weird because it's just very much like a, you know, what do you call it? Like a moment in history telling about how the indie scene was kind of at the time. And, you know, I can see, like, my friends, self-publishers, like, coming together and doing something like this, which would be very cool. Eli Schwab's Wizard, Wizerd, comes to mind. But, you know, so, yeah, I am all for it. Continuity Comics, Neil Adams. Such a great piece of art there. Serious Comics, sort of remember them. You know, I was definitely, I mean, especially if you watch my channel, you can see I was definitely more of a DC Marvel kind of mainstream kind of guy. But I did, you know, if the art was good and the story was there, mostly the art. I'm always usually about the art, but oh yeah, cool. I remember this Northgard character. I forget this artist's name, but Northgard, no, not really the art I was thinking of, but Mark Shaneblum and Gabriel Morissette. And of course, that's cool here, this jam piece by Bernie Moreau. So, I don't know. Like, this is such a great book, you guys. I don't know if you ever have the chance to come across it, like in a quarter bin or something. I mean, and then you get the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles on the back, and that sick-ass piece of art. That is so gorgeous. What a great way to end. So cool. Such a great book. anyway, I'm very happy and excited to have been able to share it with you. What do you think? I mean, who knows what the future of comics are? I feel like the more things change, the more things stay the same in a lot of ways, even though they're really, really different. Superhero comics are ruling the day. But I'd like to say that Will Eisner, rest in peace, it was kind of a success. You kind of did what you wanted. And, like, there's so many great comic books out there from independent publishers and such a great variety, Kickstarter comics like Rocco Jerome's Ghost Agents and, creators like Sam J. Royale with his Dishoom and Tony McMillan with Serious Creatures and Attaboy and just, I mean, there are a lot of great comic book publishers out there and great comic books. And they're not all superhero comic books from Marvel and DC Comics. In fact, most of the best ones are not, sadly, anymore. Anyway, it's not sad. It's just the way it is. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Hit that like button, and I'll bring you more later. Thanks.